Chinese President Xi Jinping has wrapped up his visit to North Korea on a high note on both sides. The visit has come just before he's set to meet U.S. President Donald Trump at the G20 summit in Japan.
For more on the significance of these two back-to-back meetings by the Chinese leader, we're joined from New York City by Sean King. He's Senior Vice President at Park Strategies. Sean, very close camaraderie on display between Mr. Xi and Mr. Kim during the summit. From the U.S. standpoint, what does it mean?
I think Trump's takeaway would be that North Korea has options, Beijing in its corner, and that North Korea may not be in a position to accommodate Trump's all denuclearization or nothing. So it shows that Xi is playing hardball and Kim is thus empowered.
And what's been achieved then in the 2 days of meeting? Was it just purely this sort of show of camaraderie, or was there sort of more sort of meat to it as well?
I mean, who really knows? It's not like these two autocrats are going to have a press conference. We can only assume, however, that Xi promised some kind of sanctions relief or sanctions busting or further promises to oppose extra sanctions at the UN and maybe even some humanitarian aid for the growing food crisis. But what they two really discuss, we'll never know.
Sean, when you look at this meeting, and the perceptions being that China seems to be stepping up here, perhaps playing what is perceived to be a more active role as mediator in this denuclearization process. Is that going to give China more leverage in dealing with the United States over the outstanding trade issues that they have?
I don't think Beijing has an interest to be a mediator. They've spent the last 20 years telling us they don't have that much influence in North Korea, which I believe to be the case, because North Korea is an ultra-nationalist, go-it-alone state that even downplays China's rescue of it in the Korean War, which is why I was so struck by the images from Mayday Stadium, almost equating the two leaders and having their portraits next to each other, the way you had the portraits everywhere in North Korea of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il. I think that Xi wanted to shore up his near abroad, remind people at home with all that's going on in Hong Kong, who's boss, and for once in my life, I'm going to agree with Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Lu Kang, who said we may be overthinking things. I don't think trade is all that important to Beijing. I think that geopolitical and security concerns come first. And if anything, I think Xi is more concerned with Trump's growing support for Taiwan than anything in the trade front.
And let's bring the focus back to North Korea then and Kim Jong-un. In the last 18 months or so, he's had sit-down meetings with Donald Trump, U.S. President, twice, Kim Jong with Xi Jinping as well. He's met Russian President Vladimir Putin recently as well. He certainly seems to be making himself very comfortable on the world stage.
Yeah, and every time he's met Trump, he's first checked in with Xi. So I'm thinking this could be a prelude to a third Trump summit. And Kim obviously is hurting for the sanctions. That's why he asked for sanctions relief in Hanoi. And one reason for him to welcome Xi the way he did, not least because next week is the 70th anniversary of North Korea's invasion of the South, even though North Korea propaganda tells its own people we invaded them, even though we didn't have troops there at the time. But that's life. I think he's looking for any cash or any assistance he can get, because he's really feeling the pinch of sanctions. And Trump, to his credit, has closed down a lot of Kim's illicit business activities in Eastern Europe and Southeast Asia. So he's looking for cash and support wherever he can get it.
All right, many thanks for your thoughts this evening. Sean King speaking to us from New York.